early stage, and we'd just like to talk to you for a minute or two. The significance of the Island of Ireland Peace Park is that I suppose it doesn't exist in Messine or Messin at all. It's where we stopped on the way in, Bichet. And the military significance of it was that you were up yesterday in the Ulster Tower. You saw how the 36th Division was honoured there, and their particular view of our island was honoured. The 16th Division's view of Ireland was just airbrushed into history. And so in the 1990s there was a move to try to rectify that. Just to give you the military background, this ridge here, it runs into the town and off in that direction 12 kilometres to Ypres, or Ypres. And the Germans occupied that. The Allied forces were down in that direction. So the attack went in on the 7th of June 1917. It was preceded by 17 explosions of mines. The mines were dug in under all the known machine gun positions, German machine guns. They went up, and the attack started at 3:10 in the morning. And they say all of them, except there's two urban myths in it. They say all of the mines went up except one, and nobody knows where it is. That's myth number one. I don't know whether it's true or not. The other one is that the sound of them all going off together was heard in London. So, you know, you can accept it or otherwise. The attack was a complete success, but months and months of preparation and training. A model of this whole Messine ridge was made way back. Soldiers, platoons, all went back and they were briefed on it. And then with the machine gun nests taken out, the attack was a complete success. Up this end of the ridge, it was the Australians and New Zealanders. And that's their park up there. And it's attack, you can actually walk up there. I'm not sure whether the time allows us or not. Of course, the inevitable happened. Counter-offensives afterwards took back what had been gained, or most of it. Two people from Ireland who were out here visiting, both families were very friendly. One was Paddy Hart, who was TD in Donegal, and a very outspoken man about the problems that we had for 30 years. He and a very good friend, Glenn Barr, who was Glenn was the Ulster Workers' Council, one of the two leaders in the strike against the Anglo-Irish Agreement. They both looked at this and they said, this is the only place where the 36th and the 16th attacked together. And they said, they formed the concept that you now see. A trust was set up. David and I were on that trust. But the park opened in November 1998. And as you know, the three sovereigns were here. Well, if we can't really call our president the sovereign, but she was here, Queen Elizabeth and Queen Regent. A real sad Irish story. Sometime afterwards, the two main people, Paddy Hart and Glenn Barr, fell out rather publicly. And there wasn't enough money to finish. And the trustees took it over, paid off the debts, and handed it over to the OPW. Now I would have to say that David Trimble in Belfast and Bertie Ahern in Dublin were the main men that pushed it to a final solution. And they both were very active in this. So OPW developed it, adjusted some of the original plans, and did a very good job. There is now a Belgian company set up, which the directors are from the British and the Irish embassies in Brussels, and they now have responsibility for it. And the trustees, David and I, are out of a job. So they do a very good job. They have, they're going to keep it in perpetuity in a way that we will be all proud of. That's really all I have to say. David has a good fucking to follow on.
Gerry and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say what a real pleasure and privilege it is for me, the President of the Royal British Legion of the Republic, to be here with the ONE on this, if you like, pilgrimage to the cemeteries and the graves and the memorials, to all of those, Irish in particular, but everybody in general who were killed in this dreadful war. The role of the British Legion is primarily remembrance. It is, of course, to look after our ex-service and do what we can for them, encourage comradeship and all that sort of thing. But my role, my encouraging role during the time that I've been President down south, has been to encourage remembrance for something that was swept under the carpet since it happened. And so it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy until really the ceasefire, the Good Friday Agreement and the ceasefire, the referendum which said, let's try and get Ireland the way we want to live in it. And then it became, if you like, a real pleasure. And the remembrance is for the 49,400 Irish who didn't go home. 49,400, and that is the figure that is written on the War Memorial Gardens at Island Bridge. And that is my prime remembrance. And that is why I've only unfortunately brought one wreath, but that is why I laid my wreath here rather than in the scene because my remembrance is primarily, though not exclusively, of course, for the 49,400 Irishmen who didn't go home. And why does one want to do it? One wants to do it in honour of them, but one wants to do it for the sake of the families who are still alive, whose relations down the years they were. So many people have come up to me, indeed some in the group, to say, oh, I had an uncle or I had somebody, I had some relation in the First World War. Nothing to be ashamed of, for whatever reason they went. And there were masses of reasons why they went. And there were masses of reasons why the people then thought they went, or thought they shouldn't have gone. But for whatever reason they went, they didn't come back. And they deserve to be remembered and they deserve to be honoured. And their relations today deserve to be encouraged to honour them and to remember them. And that is what this Peace Tower is all about. And it covers, of course, the whole of the island of Ireland, as does the National War Memorial Garden in Island Bridge. So it's for families too, and one of the most poignant things that I find, and I'm sure some of you have found when you've come here before, is to have somebody on the bus or on whatever who's actually got a grave to go and lay a wreath on, of a relation or connection of his. And I find that extremely poignant. The remembrances here, this particular occasion with me here with an ONE, and the occasions when all of us, ONE, IAMPA, British Legion, do their remembrances at home in Ireland. have now got to the stage where all three of our organisations do it together. And frankly, that has given me the most enormous amount of pleasure. I just feel we're getting somewhere where we ought to be. And we honour those of our services who died in service, and that is the way I believe we ought to be. So I am personally absolutely couldn't be more pleased that we can do this, and the various chairmen, presidents and so on can be personal friends. I've had the pleasure of knowing Gerry since 96?
69.
69. I knew I'd forget something. So, if you liked, I never like calling people old friends these days. He's a friend of long standing. I had the great privilege, as did Gerry, of being here in this place when the President opened the museum. Gerry didn't quite get it right. This tower was opened by the President of Ireland in the presence of Queen Elizabeth and the King of the Belgians. And that wording gave me the most enormous amount of pleasure. Here we were, somebody, with our President opening this tower in memory of Irishmen. And it was a pleasure and a privilege and an honour that the Queen and the King of the Belgians should be here. But it was our President that opened this peace tower. The President also came on the 90th anniversary of the Battle of Messines, which was in 2007. And I was here with a group from the Dublin Fusiliers, and we actually followed the course of the battle. Willie Redmond was killed in that battle. And we started, the HR was at 3:10 in the morning, and the whole of our group and quite a significant number of Belgians got up and crossed the start line at 3:10 in the morning, and we followed the route that Willie Redmond had taken with his company until the moment that he was wounded. He was picked up by a stretcher bearer from the 36th Rifle Division and taken back to a convent not far behind the line. And we followed the route of the stretcher bearer back to the convent. And we then went to his grave just near the convent at a place called Oka. And later on in the afternoon, about midday, the President flew in, and Gerry and I were at this when the President did fly in, and she conducted, she was present and laid a wreath of a little memorial service here at this place. And that to me was just, I just really felt really emotional that the President A opened it and B wanted to come back at the 90th anniversary. And the little cross that by the cemetery where we just stopped, there's a little cross beside it with the 16th Irish Division. I had the real privilege of having my photograph taken with her, with a group from the north and the south, the Royal Irish Regiment, guys in uniform, and all the French forces in uniform, and the ministers on both sides. And it was an absolutely marvellous little group, and it's a picture that I treasure. So that's really all I want to say. This is about remembrance. It's about our nation and the people whose relatives still live there. And that's why it is so important. Just one final sales pitch, if you like. The British Legion now has, in the government calendar, a wreath-laying ceremony at Island Bridge on the day before the National Day of Commemoration. And this is every year. This year it's a Saturday, the 11th of July, and everybody's welcome. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to see you in a uniform, and we'd love to see you laying a wreath there. So, make it. Please do. Thank you very much.
Before we break up, David is going to remember our dead from both traditions in the island. I'd like to maybe just wind up and tie up a few loose ends. Why is it here and not back at Feachetta, which is where the Irish were involved? Very simple. the town council back there didn't want to give us any land. The town council here gave us this. That's one. The other one, we've been laughing on the bus, what have you, about the Mullingar crowd. But they should know that that comes from the workhouse. And it was put on in containers, and this was Paddy Hart and Glenbar for nothing and shipped here. You know, they got that done. And finally, I was here with a very fine individual some years ago, and he was writing about the battle. And he said to me, would the Ulster Division fellows have been able to talk to the 16th as they went up? And I said, yes. I said, the width of the road was the interdivisional boundary. And I said, I'll do a bit of research and I'll find out who was the right-hand man here and who was the left-hand man there. The man from the 36th Ulster Division was from the UVF in Donegal. That was the unit that was there. And the people on the 16th Division side were from the National Volunteers from Derry. Those are really big stuff. So thank you very much for listening to us, and David will now remember our dead from the island of Ireland.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.